What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are looking at a deck that absolutely loves to break the rules of fair play. If you like drawing cards, annoying your opponent with endless interaction, and literally taking extra turns while they watch, you are in the right place. We are covering Ezreal Prodigal Explorer. This is a tempo controlled deck. The philosophy here is simple. We control the board with cheap, repeatable spells, and every time we mess with the opponent's units, we get rewarded with card draw. It's fast, it's reactionary, and it creates these massive pop-off turns where you play 4 or 5 cards, clear their board, and end the turn with a full hand. It is incredibly fun because you always have options. You rarely feel stuck. However, it is a high skill ceiling deck. You have to know when to pull the trigger. But don't worry, by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to pilot this thing like a challenger. Let's dive into the deck. Let's talk about our legend, Ezreal Prodigal Explorer. His ability is the engine of the deck. It says when you tap him, it's a reaction to draw 1, but there's a condition. You can only use this if you've chosen an enemy units or gear twice this turn with spells or abilities. For beginners, choosing just means targeting. So if you cast a spell that hits an enemy and then use a unit ability that hits an enemy, Ezreal lets you tap to draw a card. In competitive play, this turns your removal spells into cantrips, cards that replace themselves. You never run out of gas because your aggression is your card draw. Now let's look at the champion inside the deck. First, Ezreal Dashing. This card is your safe poker. When he attacks or defends, he deals damage equal to his might to an enemy unit here, but he doesn't deal combat damage. This means he snipes the enemy before they can trade hits effectively. Plus, he has a mind power that lets you pay as an action to move him back to your base, keeping him safe from removal. Next is Ezreal Prodigy, the most important unit in the deck. When you play him, you discard 1 to draw 2, which is great filtering. But his passive is game changer. Optional additional costs you pay cost 1 rune or 1 power less. Keep this in mind because this ability reduces the cost of our repeat spells later on. He makes your expensive spells dirt cheap. Finally, the signature spell, Arcane Shift. This costs an action, banishes a friendly unit, then you immediately play it again for free, and it deals 3 damage to an enemy. Don't just use Arcane Shift to save a unit from death. If you have a unit that does something when you play me, Arcane Shift triggers that effect again. It turns your units into reusable ammunition. In Riftbound, since we're playing a best of 3, the order you reveal your battlefields matters. Here is the optimal setup for Ezreal. Game 1, Marai Spire. You want this out first. Its effect is friendly repeat costs cost 1 less. This deck is full of spells with the repeat keyword. Marai Spire fixes your economy early game and lets you double cast spells way earlier than you should be able to. Between this and Ezreal Prodigy, your spells become incredibly efficient. For game 2, I would choose Void Gate. You need to apply pressure. Void Gate makes spells and abilities deal 1 bonus damage to units there. This turns your small ping damage spells into actual kill spells. Suddenly, dealing 1 damage deals 2, and dealing 3 deals 4. It forces your opponent to play awkwardly to avoid that zone. And finally, if you go to game 3, it is a grind. Reaver's Row lets you move a defending friendly unit back to your base. This is pure survival. It allows you to block with Ezreal, absorb the hit, and then bounce him to safely back at base and you don't lose card advantage. We run other champions in the main deck. Dr. Mundo Expert. Ezreal is small. He needs a tank. Mundo is that tank. His might is increased by the number of cards in your trash. Since we are casting a ton of spells and discarding cards with Ezreal Prodigy, our trash fills up fast. Mundo becomes a massive stat stick very quickly. He also recycles 3 cards from your trash at the start of your turn, which prevents you from decking out in long games. He's your late game insurance policy. Let's look at the crew that's supporting Ezreal. Pit Crew. When you play a gear, you ready this unit. This is great for early aggression, attack, play a gear, ready up, and attack again. Thousand Tail Watcher. This is a massive tempo swing. When played, it gives enemy units -3 might. Combo alert, remember Arcane Shift? If you shift the Watcher, it leaves the play and comes back, triggering the -3 might again. You can effectively neuter an entire enemy board for a turn. Next, Mind Splitter. This is your control piece. When played, the opponent reveals their hand and you choose a card for them to discard. Again, Arcane Shift and synergy here is disgusting. Shift the Mind Splitter to rip 2 cards out of your opponent's hand. That is game-winning disruption. Next, we have Card Sharp. This helps us ramp. When played, you and an opponent get a gold gear token. Why give them gold? Because for each opponent who gets gold, you get another gold. We use the mana better than they do because we have those expensive repeat spells to pay for. Pay attention to Card Sharp's symmetry. It gives the opponent gold too. Don't play this if that 1 gold allows them to hit a power spike on their next turn. Wait until they are tapped out or until you can use that gold immediately to remove whatever they play. If you're new to Riftbound, gears and seals are equipments you attach to units and items that sit on the board. Called a classic farming tool. It gives +1 might, and when the unit conquers, you get a gold token. Put this on Ezreal or Dr. Mundo to generate economy while you fight. Boots of Swiftness. These give +2 might and ganking, which lets the unit move between battlefields. Mobility is king. Moving Ezreal away from a losing fight or into an open battlefield to score is crucial. Finally, we have Seal of Discord. This is a reaction that adds 1 chaos power resource to your mana pool. It's surprise mana ramp. This lets you tap it to pay the power cost of your spells and or units. And it's great for counter spells. Next, we'll move on to the spells. This is the heart of the deck. We are a Spellslinger list after all. Stacked deck. This is your setup. You look at the top 3 cards, put 1 of them in your hand, and recycle the rest. It smooths out your draws perfectly. Called Shot. Look at the top 2, draw 1, recycle 1. But it has repeat, with Marai Spire or Ezreal Prodigy reducing the repeat cost. You can dig super deep into your deck to find answers. Frigid Touch gives a unit -2 might. You can repeat it for 2 mana. This triggers your legend ability easy because you can target multiple things. Stupefy reduces might and draws a card. It replaces itself instantly. Rebuke bounces a unit to hand. Great for removing expensive enemy units, forcing them to pay the mana cost again. Hard Bargain. This is our counter spell. It counters a spell unless its controller pays 2 runes. Since it has repeat, you can force your opponent to pay an additional 2 runes. That's a total of 4 runes. It shuts down big plays hard. Bellows Breath. Deal 1 damage to up to 3 units. It also has a repeat cost. This is your board wipe against swarm decks or decks that use small units to push and hold battlefields. Pro tip here, Bellows Breath lets you choose 3 units. That will also proc your legend ability, allowing you to tap it to draw a card. Next up, we have Wages of Pain. Deal 3 damage and gives you a gold token. Wages of Pain has a hidden. You can play it face down for a rune cost and react with it later for 0 mana. Always hide this card early if you have spare mana. Having a 0 cost deal 3 damage sitting face down on a battlefield makes you incredibly dangerous during your opponent's turn. And finally, we have Time Warp. Take a turn after this one, banish this card. It's simple, it's powerful. You use this when you have a board established. You take an extra turn to attack again before they can respond. Key tip here, Time Warp should be used when you can secure both battlefields and get that additional 2 points to end the game. In Riftbound, the sideboard is an 8-card toolkit. We use this to fix out bad matchups. First up, Vex Cheerless. This is your mirror match breaker. While she's in combat, friendly spells cost 1 less and enemy spells cost 1 more. Bring her in against other control or Spellslinger decks. Take out Pit Crew. In a spell heavy fight, you don't need the early aggression. You need the tax effect to slow them down. Rebuke. We take an extra copy of Rebuke because we run 2 in the main deck. Against big mana decks playing huge units, that's when I would swap it in. Take out Bellows Breath. Their units are too big for Bellows Breath to kill, so bouncing them is much better. We also run an additional copy of Bellows Breath. We run 2 in the main and 1 in the sideboard. Similarly, an extra copy is just more board wipe. Swap this in against Swarm or Aggro decks. Take out Hard Bargain. Aggro decks usually empty their hand so fast you won't have anything to counter. Next, Orn Forge God. He has Deflect 2 and gets huge based on the gears you control. Against decks with a lot of target removal, he is very hard to kill. Taking out Time Warp is key here. It's often too slow against fast decks, and Orn stabilizes the board better. Factory Recall returns a gear to its owner's hand. Use this against gear/equipment heavy decks. Take out Frigid Touch. Bouncing their sword is more valuable than reducing their attack by 2. And finally, we have Dorn's Ring. Discard 1 to draw 1 when you conquer. In grindy games, this is where you want to swap this in and you're running out of cards. Take out Card Sharp. In a long game where every resource matters, you do not want to give your opponents free gold tokens that help them fix their mana. To wrap this up, Ezreal is strong because he attacks the opponent's resources. You deny their board with removal, you deny their spells with Hard Bargain, and you deny their hand with Mind Splitter. Your win condition is attrition. You simply outvalue them. You draw more cards than them thanks to Ezreal's legend ability, and eventually you stick a Dr. Mundo or an evasive Ezreal and ride them to victory, potentially capping it off with a Time Warp for a double attack turn. Don't get greedy with Marai Spire discount. Sometimes it is correct to cast a spell without the repeat just to trigger Ezreal's draw ability or to survive the turn. You don't always need maximum value. Sometimes you need just enough value. If you enjoyed this deck tech, smash that like button. Drop a comment down below to let us know which legend you want us to cover next. And subscribe to GG Haven for more Riftbound content. Good luck on the ladder, and I'll see you in the next one.